All right. Jake, welcome here. Love to learn more about yourself and HomeGymCon and how it all started. So if you don't mind giving a little background.
Yeah, so Home Gym Con, it's going into year 4, but the overall story kind of starts when I started Garage Gym Experiment, which is content, a guide for home gym owners. There's also um, so yeah, to take you back, um, I started a home gym 11, 12 years ago or so. And just like slowly started building it out. Um, when I became a father, that's when I really started utilizing it, and it really started to have a benefit for my life because I was your typical wake up, go work out at the gym, go to your corporate job, come home. And then once my daughter came, it kind of changed quite a bit, and I started utilizing the home gym a lot, and just basically noticed how much it was impacting my life. And I thought more people would benefit from something like this. And so I started looking into it, and there just wasn't much information out there in terms of like home gyms. And I would say I had some entrepreneurial aspirations, and I started a blog, started a social media channel called Garage Gym Experiment. It grew steadily for, pretty much it grew from the very beginning. Um and from there I also started a newsletter and then a podcast. And in the back of my head, ever since I started, I knew once you build an audience, an event was something that you could do with it. So going in, and I will just also emphasize that during COVID, this home gym community just exploded. So as anyone listening probably knows, not only were people desperate for equipment, but after COVID happened, I just think it opened up a lot more eyes to kind of like the mindset I had when I first started a home gym. Like, oh, this is actually very beneficial. Whether I go to a gym, whether I'm only home gym, just having some sort of option at home resonates, and it really can help, whether it's like a fully decked setup or like your backup. So the home gym community just grew. It's also one of those things, those communities where it's dispersed, right? So like you're not like meeting people every day to work out in your home gym. Maybe you are, but overall a lot of like connections were made. Um Nationwide, globally, etc. So really the idea behind Home Gym Con number 1 was to get a bunch of online friends together in person. Um and just it was just one of those things where it's like, all right, let's do it. Whipped it up in 6 to 8 months. I did it a couple hours away from my hometown, so this is bootstrapped. So it's not like we could just go to a large convention center right away. Um, and decided to just do it. And the first year was really challenging, especially like the first 4 to 5 months to try and get people there. I was looking back, it was like 4 months after launching, we had like 17 tickets sold, and like 11 vendors, with like 4 months to go. So there was definitely some panic, as far as is this going to work? But I will say is one thing that just really helped was we did get a that first year a really solid group of people, just an amazing group of people. A couple hundred attendees. We had about 29 vendors, and the word just kind of spread organically. There wasn't too much YouTube content, not too much Instagram content. But that said, everyone that went, um, at least what I heard is they loved it. And booked French Lick, Indiana again for the second year. We sold out the exhibition area. It was substantially larger. There were about 70 companies, and we filled the room. We filled the room, and just knew we needed to go into a larger convention center the next year. Last year we moved it to Louisville. Again, doubled, tripled in size in a number of different aspects, and then again, here we are going into year 4. Pretty large event. Really impactful for the industry. Not only does it allow like people to get their hands on equipment, like find what's right for you, but again, that community connects. There's just like there's nothing really like being in person. So, and then also we've gotten a ton of content creators that have made their way, spread the word, and a lot of companies get benefits out of that. So with that feature as well, a lot of companies bring in new product releases. Like it's a great place to launch new products. Meet the diehard customers. There's also a number of different competitions going on. So we have powerlifting, strongman, Olympic weightlifting, grip strength. There's and more. So there's a lot going on, and then also I just think it does help take it is very inspiring for anybody that's there, whether you're a vendor. You see the competition, you see all the great stuff, you get ideas. It helps you for the next year plan, prepare, figure out things to do next, and then as a person, if you show up as an attendee, you're gonna figure out you're just gonna meet a lot of like-minded people, and it's most likely just gonna enhance your experience within the community. So that's kind of
Awesome.
like the what 5-minute storyline and where it's at today.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Um, I was just wondering kind of when this thought came to you about, bringing, like you said, when it first started, just bringing a bunch of online friends together in person. Um, how obviously that's changed so much since. But when did it occur to you, even, after you held that first one, like, oh, this is there's something here, right? Like when did you think like I can make this into something huge?
Yeah, I think even when first starting it, it was like I think there's something there, but it was solidified. It was solidified that first year. It was like there is something here. This needs to continue. Um, I think as it has progressed year after year after year, um, I see it as something that can go toe to toe with any fitness convention in the world. I mean, it's going to take years to build that up, but based off of my experiences and most people's experiences, it seems like it could get to a very high level.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you consider some of the other conventions or conferences, right? So like as an example, I'm a certified strength coach. I have to get CEUs. I've even worked at the NSCA headquarters in years past. So I've been on the other side of like helping with the events, which we'll get to. I have questions about that for you, but just seeing how hard it is to run events. But I mean, pretty much since the pandemic, we're seeing these in-person big events like this, especially if it's education related, and they give an option for, just doing the remote ticket. This is an event where obviously the big thing is to actually be there to test the equipment, like you said, have that chance. Uh, so I think that's an advantage to some of these other ones that you see the in-person attendance dwindling because they don't necessarily have to be there.
Yeah, I think I've been to some other educational events where it's kind of like th- that's the main thing, and then the vendors or the exhibition area is like the number two thing. Whereas like this truly is a platform for companies to showcase their best. Like people are coming to see them. And I think that is one thing that makes Home Gym Con a little bit unique. And it's also just one of those things where it's built up alongside this growing passion of so many people. People love building out their home gyms, and it's also just in combination with there's a lot of stuff out there, and some of it is right for one person, but it may not be right for another. So Home Gym Con gives you that opportunity to find what's best for you.
Yeah, I mean, you have the people building out in their gyms, following Basement Brandon. Then you got, you know, all of us with our garages and whatnot. And yeah, so a lot of different spaces. And like you said, there's so much out there, especially since the pandemic. And I want to get into your thoughts on how um, call it the environment is changing with companies and what equipment is offered. But um, essentially, it doesn't matter what your situation, you're going to be able to find something to build out your space, which is great. And obviously, if we're talking even just like 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. I don't think so. Um, Call it that blessing and a curse with the pandemic that it kind of pushed us this way. Because I remember I was living in Seattle at the time, and during the pandemic and all the gyms shut down, I went to buy equipment and I couldn't, like, everything was sold out. Remember that time? It was just like, because that's when it hit, like you said, like that's when everyone was building out their space.
Yeah, yeah, and just to add on to that, I would say the pandemic certainly pushed innovation to a different level. And that's one thing that you see at Home Gym Con. That like it's not your mom and dad's home gyms anymore. These are legit amazing places that you can set up. And if somebody would have tried to start Home Gym Con in 2017, for example, I just don't I don't know if it would be the same event. A lot of it is just timing.
Yeah, as they say, timing is everything. Um, so for you, now that this has become such a big thing, is this your full-time gig?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Hmm.
what whatever you were doing prior to this, like, did you have the skill set to run this, or have you just kind of learned on the go?
Yeah, I've definitely taken some of the past learnings in dealing with sales and customer service and analytics. Um, but I had no experience running any sort of events or anything like that. So it's mostly learn as you go. And hopefully you find the right partners along the way to help you get there.
For sure. So do you have a team behind you to help with running the events and whatnot, or is it mostly like volunteers and
Yeah, so I've started to build out somewhat of a mini team. I'm the only full-time employee. But um we have a head of the competitions. I've got somebody running the social media. I work with somebody to help out with the website. Um, we bring in some extra media support, so photographers for the event. I feel like I'm leaving somebody out, but yeah, I'm starting to build out a mini team that hopefully as the event grows and scales, that they can have an even larger role. But right now it's kind of finding people within the community with certain skill sets and interests, and giving them some opportunity to get involved.
Very cool. What would you say the hardest part of running it, whether it's like continually year after year, it's this one thing, or when you first started up, like what have been some of the biggest challenges to setting up the event and running it smoothly?
I mean, just the bootstrapped aspect of all of this has been the toughest. There's a lot of upfront costs. Renting out the space is not cheap. eh, it's just not a cheap thing to do. So uh, that's been the biggest hurdle, I would say. You have to make predictions about how many people are going to stay at the hotel. If you don't hit those numbers, there's ramifications. Again, the upfront costs of everything is difficult. So I would say that's the biggest thing, but everything else, I would say has been all the smaller issues has been mitigated by just a really strong attitude from most of the people, and most people kind of understanding what I was explaining is, um, I don't want to say we're winging it, but it's kind of like you learn as you go. As far as, it's never going to be easy, but loading in hundreds of thousands of pounds of equipment and then loading it out, that's within like garage doors, with over 100 companies. It's never going to be easy, but those things, I think we're making some small improvements each year that should ultimately, hopefully give people hope that, or hopefully give people to understand that we're trying to make as many changes as possible to make it a seamless experience. Um, but yeah, those, I mean, overall, like I said, there has been a lot of small things that you weren't ready to encounter, but most people's attitudes are very flexible and understanding, and I think they see the benefit of this event and have helped out tremendously.
Oh yeah, and I can't imagine, holding an event like this. It's the perfect people to have to lend a hand with lifting all those pounds, right? So
Yes, yes, yes. Lots of volunteers willing to help, and yeah, there's a lot of strong guys and girls around to help move that heavy pieces of equipment.
yeah, like you said, with becoming a parent, I feel like these days, anytime I can lift anything to get some extra volume in, I'm all for it.
Yep, yeah, but just to stay moving.
Exactly. Um, so if we look to the industry, how have you seen it even since Home Gym Con started 4 years ago? How have you seen the industry change? And you know, do you see that Home Gym Con has impacted that in any way?
Yeah, it's hard to say specifically, but like in general, the last 3 or 4 years, I think a lot of it just comes down to the interests of the community and those coming in to the community. And it's not necessarily just the community, but anybody building out a home gym, interests have changed. Maybe if we go back 10 years, sure, there were some bodybuilding gyms, but it was mostly CrossFit focused. It was a lot of bare bones, functional training, CrossFit, powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting. Is kind of what I saw when I first started in the home gym space. It was people who were training for a specific sport, and you didn't necessarily need a massive amount of items. But I think as the general population has, um, has come into the space, most specifically since COVID, it's changed a lot of people's perspectives on the products to create, and home gyms look quite a bit different than they did. Very very well rounded, a lot more strength machines, a lot more innovative solutions for small spaces. I think one thing that we've seen is there are certain people that have the budget to basically put whatever they want into their home gym. You know, it's kind of like their main thing that they're investing in, but they still may not have the space. So they are still really reliant on having like very versatile things within the small space. And I would say in the last 3-4 years, those sort of products have come out quickly. And from my perspective, they continue to get better and better and better. And that's also one thing that's bringing in more people.
Yeah, I would agree. Would you say things, especially like on the technology side, stuff like the um, Beyond Power Voltra, for example, things like that, where it's like you said, they have all the money, but they don't have the space. Something like that fits the bill where it can really do many things. And now you have all of the third-party companies making it fit with their pieces of equipment. Um, uh, as an example, I'm really excited. I was one of the backers for the Quad Send
Okay, nice.
from Temple of Gain, so I'm really excited. That's coming within the next month. It should be delivered, and they have a Voltra integration on that, and and I guess um, I'm foreseeing that you have people who are very passionate, very knowledgeable, and now they have this tech like the Voltra, and I'm sure other companies are coming out as well with similar things, where you have like the overloaded eccentrics, bands, chains, like those kinds of functions within that you get the right mix of knowledgeable people who train hard. We're gonna start seeing, I think, some um, just call it the level of strength and power of your average person is going to be through the roof, right? So just as a meathead strength coach, like I'm excited to hopefully see that in the future and be part of that group.
Yeah, yeah. And I think as costs go down for some of that, it'll be a more normal thing, a more normal purchase within the home gym. There's certainly going to be competition pumping out this next few years for with other companies coming with something like the Voltra. I also just think having better options like that is going to give people an opportunity to add it to their apartments, or maybe maybe they really truly only have a really small space for their home gym, and um, they're big, but their interest level in the home gym will grow substantially if they're able to get something set up, and maybe in their next home they're like, let me build out a full home gym. And I think it all just comes down to kind of what I was saying at the beginning, where a home gym, whether you go to a commercial gym or not, especially as you get older, have kids, it just makes sense and it does improve your life. So I I think the innovation in the space is still just getting started.
Yeah. I hope to see a lot of big things coming as well, and um, I know for one, I'll be coming as much as I can. Starting this year is the first year, like I said, but I look forward to many more home gym cons. Um, so I do want to ask you, what has building Home Gym Con taught you about yourself?
What has it taught me about myself? Hmm. I mean, I think it's one of those things where the biggest thing for me is like you do whatever it takes to make sure it succeeds. Um and I think yeah, I think it's shown it's proved resilience. Um because like I've kind of said, it's been bootstrapped, and the back end may not be as pretty as all of the charts going up, the numbers going up. And I think that's the biggest thing. But I think the biggest surprise for me, without even realizing it, is just seeing how um, it really has turned into something that is maybe the best part of the year for some people. And seeing the joy that people have at the event is just amazing. To say like, yeah, you were the one that started it. I think that's been, I don't know what that says about myself, but that was something that certainly keeps me pushing forward. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've learned that I'm a little more resilient than than I thought I was.
No, that's great. And it's one of those building something bigger than yourself, but you always have that to kind of look back on to say like, I built that, but now
Yeah.
look how much people look how many people have enjoyed this and still like, I'm sure you've had people, I'll probably be one of the people, they get back just from the trip from HomeGymCon and they're like, I can't wait till next year. Like, let me buy my ticket now. Um, with that, kind of looking back, like I said, what legacy do you want Home Gym to have as you continue to build it out?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of as we were discussing earlier, I hope it stands toe to toe with some of the biggest names. I don't even want to like compare it to some of those names now, but I do think like, for example, I went to Mr. Olympia to, just to learn and check things out, see what was going on there and how they operated, and hopefully take some inspiration. And I learned it was their 50th year. And I was like, man, I hope Home Gym Con, whether I'm still a part of it or not, that would be like the coolest thing if Home Gym Con is still a thing in 50 years and there's thousands and thousands of people still attending each year. So I think that's one thing that I definitely want to. I want it to be a brand that can stand the test of time, and I think part of that is getting it off the ground and building it the right way, keeping the same vibes, I guess you could say. And ultimately, like, truly goes down to trying to create something that can help the home gym space, which I think impacts society in a really strong way.
Well, I think you're well on your way there for sure. Um, I do want to ask one more question. I know this is kind of backpedaling, but I forgot to ask you about the events you mentioned. Just because I know when I go, I want to cover as much of them as I can. What events are available for people to compete in or take part in? And were those in existence right from the first year, or did you kind of have to work on adding those?
Yeah, so the first year they were not in existence. But in year two, we had a grip strength competition, Olympic weightlifting meet, and strongman. So this will be the third year for both of them. Last year we added powerlifting. We had another one called the Savage Strength Games, which isn't going to survive. Um, we added the hybrid, a hybrid competition, and that might be it last year. And then we're bringing back the hybrid competition, bringing back powerlifting, and then we'll have a junior strongman competition in addition, and then so we'll have that the the strongman throwdown, which has come back for the third straight year, and then pro strongman league is coming in to do something as well. I feel like I'm leaving out a competition, but yeah, those will be scattered on the outer edges of the exhibition floor. So everything one floor is, which has also been a cool thing because you have everybody within one roof.
Yeah, that is cool. Easy to get to, check everything out. Um, where if somebody wanted to, to register for one of those competitions, because I just went, I think recently I checked out your website and it still had last year's stuff up.
Those
Do
have
we?
just been updated, so
Okay, okay,
they are there now. Yeah.
good deal. Um, cool, cool. Well, I think that's really all that I had for you. I'm looking forward to coming and checking everything out. And like I said, I want to kind of cover as much as I can. So not just focused on the equipment, but checking out everything because, like I said, it's just a really cool event all in all, especially with those competitions too. Because then, as as an attendee, you can go and well, you can train anyways at all of the booths and try out all the equipment, but then you can actually go there and compete too. So it's kind of like best of all worlds for those who want to come.
Yeah, there's so we've spread it out to 3 days, so there's certainly an opportunity for many to, compete one day, explore the rest of the time.
Great. Well, thanks again, Jake. I really appreciate you coming on, and I'll definitely come and shake your hand at the event.
You got it. Thanks for reaching out. I'm glad you're able to make it this year, and I hope you have a great time.
All right, take care.
All right.